I received the invitation to come to this event, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm 85 years old. I don't want to get out of my rocking chair and get on an airplane. That's just too much trouble. So then I got another letter, and the other letter said that the money that is raised tonight is for the children, the students of the arts programs. Well, that did it. Because those beautiful buildings that we have are only buildings unless we fill them with music and drama. A building is beautiful to look at, but it's nothing unless it can sing and stir the soul. And that's what we want our young people to do. And if we don't support our young people to do what we want them to do tomorrow, they're not going to do it. And why should we import children from all over the world to do what our children can do? Okay, let's back up now 40 years, a long time ago, 1974, January 1974, I went to see Henry Segerstrom, and I said, Henry, I am going to be a candidate for the Costa Mesa City Council. As you know, a woman has never won, but I'm going to try. And I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm here to share a dream that I have. I'm sure that all the people around here have dreams for all the land that you own, because everybody wants to do something else with it. And the lima bean fields that I'm talking about are the lima bean fields that your grandfather had on Bristol Street, between Sunflower and what is now Anton. I said, I think that would be a wonderful place for the arts, for a music center, for a performing arts center, and for a theater. I think he kind of took it under advisement. I went on my way. I won the city council race, much to the chagrin of the city. The city hall vibrated for weeks because I was the first woman. The men on the council were not too happy, were they, Jack? And I'm going to tell you some secrets now that nobody has ever heard before, because I have never told them. Be careful. Well, I don't need to be really careful. The secret entails money. I was new on the council when Southwest Repertory came and asked for a grant to start their building. Southwest Repertory had been wandering around the area for years, and they were just too good to keep wandering. We needed to nail them down. We needed to find a place for them to stay and to be permanent. And they wanted to have their permanent home in Costa Mesa. So they came and asked for $25,000. Well, $25,000 in 1975 was a lot of money. I went to the city council and I said, how about it? And they said, we don't have any interest in the arts. So I said, well, okay. And I dropped it because I could see I'd lost the game already. And I went to the city manager and the city attorney. I said, what other approach can we take? So they said, well, why don't we buy something from Southwest Repertory? Why don't we buy services from Southwest Repertory for the arts programs for the schools? Great idea. Went back to the city council. I said, how about it? And they said, no. I said, but it's a deal. We can buy something for the students. No. Okay, but we have a block grant coming back with $4 million in it. That money came from Costa Mesa. The people of Costa Mesa have a right to get that little bit of their money back. Why don't we take it out of that money, that $4 million? I said, what are you going to do with that money anyway? And they said, well, we're going to fill the potholes on the street. I said, really? $4 million worth of potholes? And then they said, well, maybe not all $4 million worth of potholes. How about we give $25,000 to Southwest Rep? Great idea. Glad you thought of that. So that was a seed money to encourage South Coast Repertory to go out and raise the rest of the money they needed to build their building, which they did. And the whole idea with that was that Costa Mesa needed something. Costa Mesa had nothing. It was kind of a meat and potato town with nothing. You just go right through it and you'd never know you'd been there. We needed something to make it special. We needed something to make people want to come to Costa Mesa, and for people to want to stay here, for people to want to invest in here, for tourists to come, to make the county green when they go home. They leave everything here, and we don't have to bother with infrastructure for them because they've just come and had a good time and gone home. So that would be the benefit to having the arts in Costa Mesa. It would be a good thing for tourism. It would be a good thing for conferences. I know when I was mayor, frequently someone would call or write a letter and say, "We plan to bring a conference to Costa Mesa. What have you got to offer?" And I would list all the things we had to offer. And I would say, if you come from the airport, you don't even need a car, because you can have theater, you can have hotels, you can have restaurants, you can have shopping without a car. It's a wonderful place for a conference. So a lot of conferences have come since then and have done very well. So the city has grown a lot. And one of the nice things about being the first woman is that we've had women ever since. And I think it's a woman's responsibility to take responsibility. And part of it was some of the things that were going to help the city to grow. So I can't stop talking to you without telling you just a couple of special stories that I have about my preschools, because I had the preschools at the same time as I was on the city council. And there are some of the people here tonight who probably went to the preschool. When I knew you before, you weren't bald, but that's the way things are now. But that was a long time ago, and we've all matured since then. But a couple of my stories that are just kind of favorites, that just kind of add to what I'm wanting to say to you tonight. One of them is that we had a noon meal, and after the noon meal, the children went down for nap. First thing we did when we got them under their cot was turn on the music. We turned on classical music. They all went to sleep. So now if you go to a concert and you go to sleep, you probably went to Mesa Verde Preschool. The other one was that we were an observation school for the nurses of Golden West College. They came to school to have an opportunity to watch the well child at play. And I said to them, no, when you're here today, you're going to see children doing things that you might not understand. And I'm asking you to please write yourself a note, and we'll debrief at the end of the morning. One woman came and she said, "Why do you let the children play with their food? My mother would never let me play with my food." I said, "What did you observe?" She said, "Well, I saw this little boy playing with his Jell-O." I said, "Well, was he squishing it through his hands?" "No, he was patting it." "Ah," I said, "we have been talking about the fact that vibration is the cause of sound." He was patting his Jell-O to see what vibration Jell-O made. And I said, "That's creative. You know, how many of us pat their Jell-O to see it?" So I said to her, "What I want you to do," I wrote her a prescription. I said, "Go home, make a large bowl of Jell-O, invert on a plate, and pat until content." And the third story, the same nap time, when the children got up from nap, we were teaching children life skills. Mathematics, academics, all that stuff comes later. It's the only time in their lives when they're under school age when they're not being judged for everything they do. They're just being. And we're learning to be for each other, learning to be gentle, learning to be caring. When they got up from nap they quietly looked around. Other children were still sleeping. The teacher was sitting there. She said, "Get up, get your shoes, quietly. Go into the other room, put your shoes on. Don't wake up anybody else." This happened one particular day that I was in the room, and a little boy sat up in bed and looked around. All the beds were gone. All the children were gone. He was in the room all by himself, and he says, "Everybody else is gone, but I'm still here." So what I'm saying to you is, with these children that we have today, we're all still here. We are caring enough to take care of them for all of our tomorrows in all the music that we will have in all these halls. And thank you very much for coming today.